Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another night of painting miniatures. Tonight we have a couple of projects to work on. It is super overexposed, which I should do something about. But to begin with, we have this currently very ice bearish creature that we want to do some stuff to. Let's see if this is a little better. Yeah, a little better. And we can also do this, maybe that. That's probably better. I apologize for not having this under control before starting. There we go. That should be good. So basically, we have a bear. That is probably going to be a brown bear, a grizzly bear-ish thing. We also have the druid from my D&D party, one of the other players. She's the one who's actually turning into this bear. And then we have our bard in the party. I painted a little bit on these like ages ago, so I'm just gonna see how far I can get. I mean, the bear is gonna be super simple. It's just gonna be a bunch of contrast paints. Actually, just got a message from the player saying dark gray with brown nuances, please. We'll see if I can make that happen. So grayish, yeah, we can do that. Not sure about dark gray, but we can work something out. Probably just gonna go sort of grayish. Oh, actually, I can do better than that because we can do a black. Yeah, because I don't want to spend too much time on it. It has really nice texture, so I'm basically just gonna go, mix up like a mix of some gray and black contrast paints just to tone it down a lot. Give that, and then just do some slap on some of the brown contrast paint. That'd be fine. Then add some details on the face of the jaw, which looks pretty damn nasty. Hey, Emily. I mean, if you look at the maw or whatever, the mouth of this bear, it is literally opening up as much as the head of these minions, and it is not even open all the way. I mean, it's just kind of like, yeah, I can just casually eat your entire head. So that's gonna be cool. But let's get some stuff going for the bear. Guess who forgot to clean out the last time I used this small palette thing for some purple speed paint from Army Painter, I think. So yeah, you know how it is. And it's a big bear. Yeah, Emily, that's the druid in the D&D party I'm in. She prefers a bear. She also does the giant snake once in a while. Well, it's okay. So how are you today, Emily? Enjoying life? Enjoying autumn, or are you guys getting close to winter? No, she's not going for the ape. But I mean, considering how often Falzarin turns into an ape, I would say that the kind of sort of the ape quota for D&D players as a whole has been met a long time ago. So I'm not even sure we're allowed, allowed to turn into apes anymore. As for that, I've actually probably forgot to check on all my commands. Okay, so that's interesting. I was just about to write something in chat and it asked me to sign into Twitch, which is a little funky, but hey. Yeah, it does that. does that login? That's super weird. Sake. Okay, so I cannot write in my own chat because for some reason I've been logged out through OBS. I've been connecting through OBS. So Emily, if you can, try giving yourself a shout out with exclamation mark IP. I don't know if it even works anymore, but the reason I want to do that is because Forcerin that we mentioned and Emily who's here with us now. Forcerin is a character in the Incorrigible Party, and Emily is one of the players in the Incorrigible Party, though she does not play Forcerin. No, doesn't work. But I mean, I probably should just log into the bot I use for these commands. Maybe I disabled it when I was actually trying to write my own bot for this at some point. But anywho, the Incorrigible Party is a super awesome and wonderful podcast where Emily and the others have recorded their D&D adventures and sessions and edited it. So all the boring, tedious stuff and a lot of clickety-clackety dice rolling has been cut out. So you don't have to wait for all of that. That's something a lot of people feel about, especially the YouTube streams where you see like marathons, not marathon sessions of 3 or 4 hours, but I mean, watching a 4-hour session of people where a large part of it is just people laughing at jokes. I mean, the jokes are fun, but I prefer, in short, I absolutely prefer the way the Incorrigible Party does it. I'm also super curious because this here, don't know if it's really clear, but that is an almost empty medium bottle, and I have literally no idea where all of it went. Hey, Jans, good to see you. Oh, Emily's writing that you are close to coming to the end of the campaign. Oh, yeah, I'm still struggling to catch up with where you are. I'm roughly at episode 160 something. So yeah, but anyway, we'll see. So okay, that turned basically from sort of a Space Wolf gray straight into practically almost entirely black. Nah, it thins out a little bit. Okay, we can use that as the base for the bear. Once that's dried, we'll mess it all up with some brown splotches here and there. Yeah, I saw you on 170, so I'm less than 10 episodes behind. So yeah, but Chance, what about you? What are you up to tonight? Here to listen and relax. Well then, the music that I just remembered that I should had to turn on manually this time is the ever wonderful Adrian von Ziegler, a composer who lets people use his music royalty free on your streams, on non-commercial work and so on. He also has commercial licenses and so on, but basically buy his albums or a couple of albums or his entire collection on Bandcamp and you can use it. I think that's super sweet of him, and he does some really good atmospheric, relaxed music. I like to listen to it when I'm reading, writing, when we play role-playing games, and so on. So, yeah. So, so Chance, you're working while you're here, so that's super cool. Do I need the magnifying glass? I really don't for this. I mean, this bear is not gonna be precision work. Mostly because it's just all gonna be splashed on with the contrast paints. Fix it down here. Just want to get it done. We're playing next time on Tuesday. I had to miss the last time we played because, you know, starting a new job in October, I kind of knew that I would not have the energy and mental space to actually go to our game session. Plus, the first couple of weeks, I actually wanted to be in the office so I could, you know, meet other people, and that means having to be there until, like, I don't know, 5 p.m. or something like that. And our game session starts at 5:30, so I just didn't really see any way I could join. And when we should have played like a week ago, last Tuesday, our DM got sick, so that got postponed until next week. So that's fine. Means I can maybe actually get this bear ready, maybe also get the druid and the bard ready. So yeah, the new job is going really well. I've got some super awesome co-workers, and that is just so wonderful to, you know, again be in a company where I just feel like these are people that I enjoy being around. I mean, straight from day one, really, it didn't really feel like I was starting a new job or, you know, going to an office or something like that. It really just more felt like I was just sitting down with a bunch of friends that I just, you know, didn't really know yet. So that has made me really, really happy all through the first month here. And this week is even better because we have a couple of our co-workers from Macedonia visiting, and we've known them from you know, video conferencing, Zoom calls, so on. And I know a lot about their work from the work they're committing to our repository. They're software developers, and one of them is a QA specialist. And I mean, from their work, I know they're super talented, super good. From our calls, I know that they're cool people, but, you know, having them up here for real, it's super fun. Just really, really enjoy having them here. So yeah. Oh, Corpse, you crazy person, you! 9 months. So you came home from the gym, you had your dinner. What a time to tune in. Yeah, you have to run to the bathroom. Yeah, oh, Corpse, I'm not gonna say enjoy because I have a feeling that you won't, but I hope it passes or whatever. I have no idea what the right thing to say is. I'm just gonna talk shit like usual. So anyway, glad to see you and thank you for the subscribe. Which reminds me that I'm trying to control my mouse here with my offhand, with a keyboard and mouse sort of all in one. They can just show one of these, but rotated 90 degrees, and using my offhand to move some stuff around. Somehow it actually worked. Oh yeah, it passes through for sure. Corpse, go do your thing and then get better and get back here and relax and hang out with Emily and Chance. So yeah. And yes, Emily, good co-workers are, yeah, they make a big difference, and it's been super nice. And we're talking from not only the developers but also people in the other departments. We have a lot of people sitting in the US that I've not interacted with as much as I would have liked to. That's time differences, and they're in different teams, different parts of the company. But yeah, I mean, still, I'm still sort of slowly finding excuses to at least meet some of them on calls, listening in on, well, on calls that actually do have some relevance to my work, and not just from the, oh, it's good to know what happens in the company kind of way, but actually some direct feedback from some of the people over there across the pond. So yeah, so that's going super well. And on top of, you know, my co-workers being super awesome people, we're kind of sort of sharing an office. Well, not really. We have one of the floors of one office, That's kind of a dark gray beer. I'll probably dump a little bit of maybe some white on it just to make the brown go better. No, but we're kind of sharing an office, though not really sharing an office, with another company that we're not otherwise affiliated with, really, I think. But since we're in their space, we're just naturally talking. Emily writes, everyone on Discord are my co-workers. Do you have any idea how many people actually uses Discord, Emily? That's a lot of co-workers. No, but anyway, last Friday we were just, me and some of the others from my company, well, the company I work in, I don't own it or anything. We're just sitting around playing some board games. We actually played Betrayal at House on the Hill, and then a couple of these people from downstairs just come up and say, "Oh, hey, if you if you want to come down and have a beer or so on, we do this every Friday. Just feel free to drop by and just walk in and say hi and all that, blah blah blah." So it's so yeah, that was super cool. And then when the rest of my company, the other 4 people went home, I kind of just went, I'm gonna take them on, take them up on the offer. So I went down and had a couple of beers with the people from the other company, or neighbor company or whatever. And they were also super wonderful people, so I think I ended up chatting with them for 2 or 3 hours Friday night. Playing simple dice games and other fun stuff. So yeah, it was definitely not just Friday or fun day, but yay day. We have a bot. Yeah, let's just go for the druid. I mean, we're painting the bear, might as well paint the druid. Might as well get a painting handle. So these minis here are from Hero Forge. And an interesting thing I found out when reading some of it, and I don't think it's really as bad as I'm gonna make it sound, but I'm gonna do it anyway. But Hero Forge have this weird thing where, as I understood their terms and conditions, you could not use their products for anything commercial, and it was sort of phrased in a way that we're not talking about using their product in creating a game and releasing a game or something like that. It really sounds like I cannot use the minis from Hero Forge to make money off of a stream, which just boggles my mind, because that's really good publicity for them to get. So I have now twice actually written their customer support asking for clarification on this. I've applied for a license to use it. They have kind of like a partner program or whatever, so you don't really get a license to use it, you just get their approval, because that's one of the things they stipulate. You can only use it if you get an okay from them. And they just, I think I've written them in total 4 times and they never respond. So I kind of really, if they're really serious about the way they formulated all of this, if they really mean that you're not allowed to use the minis on stream, well, I don't know. If anyone knows anyone at Hero Forge, please poke them and tell them that it's a little puzzling that they want to do it that way. And if they don't want to do it that way, which is actually what I'm thinking is the real story, then they need to be a little more precise in their end-user license agreements and so on. So Corpse is tired after gym today, pushing a lot for the future now. That's good. The future now. Well, the future is in the future and the now is the now. The future now just passed. So yeah, end of this philosophy discussion for tonight. So after New Year, you're going to go on a diet. Oh, you're talking to co-workers today, and he just told me, thank you for telling me, I'll not talk to you then. I'm not sure if that is good or bad that he don't want to talk to you. I guess we'll see. So anyway, now that Chance is actually here, I will just mention that he is also a miniature painter. I don't think you stream. If you do, I've completely missed it. But I have seen pictures of what you're doing, and you are, in my mind at least, you're way better than me. So that's cool. Keep posting pictures in the IP Discord. So in other news from the real world, we had our election yesterday here in Denmark for parliament. And I will not go into the results and the politics or anything like that. That's for other people with more knowledge than me. But I just, last night when I was looking through some of the programs, just keeping an eye on it, ready to see the results and so on, it just really struck me that it was basically one of these almost 50-50 situations. And that means that the second they actually close the polls and start getting the results in, you know that it's going to be all the way until the very end, until you really know what the result is going to be. And just watching these journalists and experts and whatnot having to spend, or not having to, but choosing to spend hours and hours just talking about really nothing, because nothing new happens. I mean, it's going to be, yeah, they're going to get one county or whatever election area in, and they're going to talk about that, but it doesn't make any changes, and they know it's not going to make any changes. It literally, I just kind of came to the conclusion that the real winners of the election were actually the press and media, because they have a field day with things like this. And yeah, let's leave it at that. Yeah, all the reporting. So, oh shit, if you're going down to 1800 calories, kilocalories, yeah, I mean, that is gonna be quite a strain on both your body and your mind. But hey, I mean, I hope you get through it, and you hope people around you understand that and respect it. I mean, that's almost half, going from 3000 to 1800. That's almost down to half of what you used to get. It's gonna be really difficult to adjust, but hey, I have a lot of respect for you for doing that. Do you know if you'll still be streaming while you do this? Do you think you have the time and energy for that? Well, I'm guessing time is not something we have, it's something we make for ourselves. But you know what I mean. Oh yeah, Corpse Throat, Dark Tide. We will talk about Dark Tide in just a moment. Just need to see what Chance writes. Chance writes that in the US, your elections are mostly decided by which campaign received the most money. Oh, that is actually more sad than the media having a field day. That being said, one of the parties, I'm not talking politics, I'm talking things around politics. One of the parties that got a huge, really good election result, gained a lot of new seats in parliament and so on. They were also the party that has spent the most money on campaigning on social media. So I think you're not wrong. Well, I'm very much know that you're not wrong about what you say about the U.S. Because you know stuff, Chance. You're a cool guy. But the whole money really helps decide the outcome on elections, which in many ways is actually somewhat scary, but not really surprising. So yeah, Dark Tide. Seriously, Corpse, I so need to. I mean, I know you can. There's been some betas out recently. You can pre-order it. But I am so looking forward to that. I mean, I still love Vermintide. Don't really play it anymore, but that style of play is super fun. And again, so the co-op aspect, where you can play with friends or strangers, but you can also just play with bots, which I prefer over random strangers, because I've had, not necessarily in in Vermintide, but in general, I prefer knowing the people I play with, because you know their play style and it's more fun to chat with them and stuff like that. So yeah, so the fact that I can just fire it up and play on my own with some bots, I think that for me that's a really important aspect. As for Dark Tide, what I really like is that they seem to have kept the close combat, the melee aspect of the game, which feels a lot in Vermintide. And I've tried different games in the past. I've not tried Skyrim and so on, but I played a bunch of Oblivion back in the day. In my mind, that's still a new game, which shows a little bit about how old I am. But in many of those games, to me the close combat melee system has always seemed kind of clunky, and coming from at least a bit of a game development background, I have a pretty good idea about how it is that it's really difficult to make make melee work properly in first-person shooters. Because you only have limited ways or predetermined ways you can swing your axe or sword or whatever. So if the animation is kind of determining where you hit, you have to be super precise. And if you don't, or if you don't do it that way, it seems more like you need to do kind of like just swing in the general area and you will actually just hit whatever is close by. And that kind of removes the whole, controlling your character. Whereas shooting, it's more about actually, point and shoot, literally just point the crosshair and fire and, account for wind and shaking and stuff like that. That's easier to implement and a good melee system. Also in games I've tried over the years, they do a great job at trying to sort it out and so on in many games, but in Vermintide it just felt, I don't know how it feels chopping up Skavens, because I've never tried that in real life, fortunately, but it had a good feel to it. It felt like that was how it should feel, actually. So, and it felt like I could control where I'm hitting, when I'm hitting, because you need to know sort of the rhythm of your attack, and it's the same couple of attacks that goes over and over. But yeah, it gives a nice pace, nice flow once you get to just the basic hang of it, and then it's just swarms and swarms of monsters and beasts and everything else. That's the aspect I love. You just get swarmed, but without it being unrealistic. I mean, it's not like you have a zombie horde you have to escape from. This is just like a zombie horde, or the other things, and you seriously just need to plow through it in brutal, horrible ways, really. But it's I actually found I had like a pulse watch measuring my pulse while I was playing Vermintide. My pulse actually went down into the resting, sort of almost meditative area, my pulse, my speed, whatever. And it also tries to measure stress levels. They went way down. So I'm just chilling and relaxing while plowing through these hordes of monsters. I'll say I did not play on a difficult level, or difficult setting. But I mean, I was playing, and it is hectic, and you can get overrun if you're not careful. So I mean, I was paying attention to the game, but apparently just relaxing so much that my pulse went down. And I know that kind of makes me sound like I'm a crazy killer psychopath, but only when Skaven and chaos monsters are involved. So yeah, Corpse wrote a long time ago that it looks like it's like Vermintide is class-based, and what is more effective, the Ogren is very melee-based. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I look forward to playing the Ogren, also because it's so large. And I kind of look forward to this whole just towering over, but not only the enemies, but also your teammates, just going, I am big, strong Ogren, I bash heads in, or whatever. I'm sure they will have equally amusing comments from from the characters in game. You would just hear these voices being played all the time, as this band of heroes is running through the fantasy world, beating up things, and they'll be talking to each other. Not the players talking to each other, but sort of built into the game. And some of those comments were just amusing. They've really had a lot of fun doing that, I think. So Chance likes playing the Bright Wizard in Vermintide, but swing around a huge two-handed sending rats flying is really fun. Yeah. The Bright Wizard is the one that in one of the subclasses can explode itself, isn't it? That's one of the parts of Warhammer that I really like. This absolute craziness they have in some of the classes, and the Bright Wizard is a fire wizard. It is called a Bright Wizard. Chance is right about that, of course. But with so much fire going on, every time you cast spells, you build up heat, and if you're not careful, you're just gonna explode. Sometimes in one of the builds, it's just kind of the purpose that you explode on purpose, taking people around you with you. And then just kind of like and the screams they've recorded for this class, it's just whenever I play her, I think of her as a her. You call her C. So the way I think of her, when I'm playing, and the screams and the sort of brutalness of these setting themselves on fire, I get so into it that I'm almost scared that I'm gonna be on fire at some point. And I think they've done an amazing job, not only of the game mechanics, but also everything around it, like that makes it so enjoyable to play. Darktide, for those just listening in, is the same as Vermintide, but that's in the Warhammer 40k world. I don't believe they're going back to Horus Heresy days, so it's called what, Grimdark Future, I think, is the general genre. So you have like big space ships hanging, derelict spaceships out in nothingness. Or is it some? I haven't actually checked up on the story. It's something like a town that's being overrun in some of the trailers. So you have missions where you need to go in and clean out chaos and corruption, stuff like that. That's always been a theme in Warhammer of all kinds. And it really is, they capture the whole grim part of Grimdark Future, and then they also make it dark. So it's like very grim, very dark, grimdark. And yeah, I mean the visuals so far look even better than Vermintide, but it also looks very different from Vermintide. So it's not just like they've taken. I mean, in Vermintide, you're running around in essentially medieval Europe, whereas in Vermintide, you're on spaceships, you're in industrial complexes and stuff like that. And the videos I've seen so far actually capture that really well. So it's a completely sort of, I guess, can we say less organic looking, like more sort of square angles and stuff like that in the corners. Whereas in the sort of old medieval style, you'll have like half crooked houses where they've caved in a little bit or whatever. This is way more steel, chrome, glass, stuff like that. So it's a completely different atmosphere and setting you get in Darktide. And it's on the 22nd or so that it releases. So yeah. Corpse, it's a city planet, but not a slum city planet. It's just overrun by chaos and needs to be cleansed. Of course, it needs to be cleansed from chaos. It doesn't have Space Marines, which I'm really happy. It's a 40k game without Space Marines. They want to focus more on the humans of the universe than the Space Marines. Space Marines are overpowered when fighting often. They wanted it to feel more like a challenge. That makes sense. I mean, they could have balanced it out, drop in some Space Marines and just balancing things out with more monsters or whatever. But the whole concept of 40k being like 90% Space Marines and 10% everything else, I'm really happy to see that with games like this, they actually go in a different direction. It's kind of like what they did with Blackstone Fortress, I think it was called, which was a board game. Never actually got to play it for real. But it's a little bit like Warhammer Quest or similar dungeon crawlers, where you're just running around in this case, floating, again, huge spaceships, lost in the vast nothingness, and you're just trying to get in, do some kind of mission and so on. And since you're playing, I think you were playing like a salvage crew or whatever, I think Firefly, running around salvaging, or adventurers looting a dungeon, because super difficult to survive in those areas because they've been overrun by chaos or tyrannids or whatever. You get the drift. But I recall it as not really having a lot of Space Marine, if any at all. There may have been some Chaos Space Marines that you could meet as opponents, which is fine, but you couldn't, as a player, actually play a Space Marine, for instance. That's how I remember it, at least, and that appealed to me, with that game. Corpse of the Phantom behind Space Marines is huge for sure, but the entire 40k universe is 90% humans doing the grunt work. Space Marines are a very small percentage of the story that is there. Yeah, I know, but I'm just thinking when people actually play Warhammer 40k, when you see which armies they build and the codexes, codices, whatever, the army books coming out from Games Workshop, that's like 90% Space Marines and 10% everything else. So in the universe, the Space Marines are like, 1,000 chapters with 1,000 people in each, if I remember my lore correctly. But that's literally nothing compared to the human settled planets that'll have like billions of people per planet, and when the Imperial Guard, which I always like more than the Space Marines, when they show up to invade a planet, the Space Marines may show up with like, I don't know, 10, 20 Space Marines, and you're gonna dump a couple of million Imperial Guards down next to them to, as you say, Corpse, do the grunt work, do the cleaning up, do the actual things, and then the Space Marines are just these huge power armored dudes walking around doing, well, their own stuff, really. So yeah, so no, the lore-wise, Space Marines are definitely in the minority, but in reality, when you look at what people are playing, it's like they're way overrepresented. So yeah, but definitely Dark Tide later this month. It's gonna be super cool. They're biological war machines, basically. Yeah, I mean, when you dig into what a Space Marine really is, I mean, it's the whole thing. You know, they've got 2 hearts and they're just bioengineered to be vastly superior to anything else. And then they get corrupted by chaos, some of them at least, and then the fun begins, because then your killer war machine, biological war machine, goes off on a killing spree, and how are you gonna stop it? That's right, you're not going to stop it. You're gonna send in other Space Marines who will then also get corrupted, and that way things go bad. No, I mean, the lore, what I like about the 40k universe is that it has been around for so long that the lore for all the different factions is so amazingly complex and well developed over the years. So I find it really enjoyable to read about all those things. Sadly, I've just come to 2 conclusions about the games themselves, and one is that I don't find them fun to play because of the way the rules are built. And I know that's preference, but I tried playing Kill Team, not Team Kill, Kill Team, and I just found that with the way the dice system worked, there were too many dice rolls for each single attack before you might actually get to score a hit or potentially take out an enemy model. And I get that is how they control the probabilities. Instead of having like a broader range and then rolling 1d100, they roll a series of d6s. But when you're doing that, you just need to roll, I think, at least 3, often 4, and sometimes 5 d6s in a row to actually determine if a hit really hit and wounded that model. And that makes something like Kill Team, which is a skirmish game, which should be really fast back and forth style of game, it just turns it into sort of a slow dice chucking match. For me, that just took everything away from the immersion into the game and trying to do tactics and trying to see how the battle progresses, because, oh, I'm shooting at you. That decision took far less time to get to than the actual dice rolling for both me and the opponent. So it's kind of like, okay, yeah, that didn't sit well with me. I've been mentioning one-page rules a lot. I have some of their models, like the little bitty camouflaged sniper. And I haven't actually played one-page rule yet. I think I could play it with one of the other gurus from the Bastard Cafe, but we just haven't gotten around to setting up a playdate for it. Yeah, exactly. The fun gets more technical. That's a good explanation. And then of course the cost of Warhammer models is just it's just hit a point where, I mean, if I really want to paint something super fancy and awesome and nice, I mean, the models are still superb quality, no doubt about that, but the price point on those models, that just scares me off. I mean, considering what I can get with 3D prints, I mean, I have a 3D printer. That's a huge luxury, I know. But based on compared to that, I mean, the money I have paid and probably still will pay for some Warhammer models it's just that's just too much, and they just seem to just be increasing the prices every chance they get. So yeah. So it's that's just kind of weird that business model, but I mean it must work, since they're still in the business, so it can't be completely off-putting. But also kind of seems like, from some of the reports they send out, the annual reports and so on, if I've read it correctly, the excerpts I took the time to read some of it, but the excerpts I read kind of looks like they're not really interested in getting new players. They just want to fleece their existing player base with new codices every month or so, and it's fine that to play the game you don't need all the codices, but when they have custom rules and just the information on your opponent, if you want to play competitively, you sort of kind of still need to actually have the codex of your opponent, and understand it to be able to understand what you'll go up against and build a good army and so on. So it's there's a kind of a not seasonal model to model, yeah, not miniature but business model to it. Like, how can we keep pushing new things that people keep buying at a very high price point, and they, so I understand, it still don't have PDF versions of the rules, for instance. So you can't even just sit at your computer and compare all of this. You have to have the physical books. So to me, that is that's off-putting. It's it makes me not want to play these games that I additionally find somewhat sort of sluggish and heavy on the dice rolls. So yeah, but then there are other games, and as I said, I have not actually played one-page rules yet. Maybe one day I will, but I've played a bunch of Malifaux a while back, until I finally gave up and decided that my head cannot cope with all the combinations there are of the different, the models and their abilities, and I cannot keep that in my head. So I still have some issues with short-term memory after I went down with stress some years ago. So just seeing an army list that I don't really know intimately, and just going, oh, so this model does this model does that, that model does this, okay, check, I'm good to go. My mind just doesn't work that way. I played with one of the other guys from The Bastard, and he was super cool about it, and he let me have time to just reread which model does what, but that just turned what should have been a 45-minute game, turned that into like a 4-hour session. So, not that I feel bad for him or me, because we had fun doing it, but it's just like in competitive play, I think it's like 45 minutes to an hour or something like that, and I would simply not be able to do that. So, but yeah. No, but one-page rule is still uses the D6s, so it's not, all things considered, not that far from Warhammer 40k, but it's just like a lot of the things, they've shaved away dice rolls, things are a little more consistent, it seems, and so on. So it seems like a solid game and has gotten good reviews, but it's still kind of smallish, undergroundish, and so on. But they keep churning out minis for their Patreon. I supported them a while back. I bought like all the Robot Legion sets. Just like you have Warhammer 40k and Kill Team. One-page rules also have both a full army game and a skirmish game. And I got kind of a, oh, you could have done better with one-page rule when I found out that all the actual models that you can choose for the skirmish game, at least for the Robot Legions, to get those you would need to have all 3 of their army collections. So they split out the collections for the armies, so you get, in one pack you'll get more than enough to actually field an army. That's not the issue. The issue is that in the skirmish game the models you can buy there were spread out over all 3 of those army packs. And it kind of seemed so evenly spaced out over the army packs that I'm thinking it was intentional. So if you want to play the skirmish game, you end up buying all 3 army packs, essentially a lot of models or files that you will not be using in the skirmish game. But at the same time, I mean, if you support them on Patreon, they regularly have 70% discounts. So I got all the models for the entire range of the Robot Legions for a total of about, I think I paid about $60. But that's like, I'm not gonna say 100 different models. Hey Ori, thanks for the lurk. I'm not gonna say 100 different models, but with poses and all that might actually get up in that sort of area. So many models to pick and choose from. It can be used in other games, of course. Yeah, so I painted out like 12, 15 or so of them. Just the basic base troops and a couple of other stuff. Not even painted everything that's available for the skirmish version, firefight. But enough that I would be able to field a couple of different crews for it. And then I painted it on stream, I actually think, a while back. So I mean, compared to the $60 and a relatively small amount of money spent on resin, not counting the cost of the printer, then it was still way cheaper to do it that way. And I think the total cost of all of that was still within the same sort of rough area or comparable to a single kill team from Games Workshop. And if I printed more, I would be able to field so many different combinations that, I mean, this feels like a way better deal. If you have a 3D printer and don't mind using it and so on. Also, painting the models, I mean, the time saved on 3D printing the models, I used the combined models so I didn't have to glue them together afterwards, because, to be honest, I hate gluing models. It's just, I have fairly shaky hands doing it. I mean, the Malifaux minis that like Santiago, who is, I cannot, there? Yeah, who's up there, Santiago. He's not from Games Workshop, that's from Malifaux, from Word. And he's like in so many pieces and they're so tiny and they're so delicate, and it's just, for me with my shaking fingers, it's super difficult to glue them together and make it look good. I mean, in the end I succeed, but I just spend so much time on it. So just being able to do print of a model that, not like this one, here, this one, that is fully assembled. You basically just remove the supports, cure it, prime it, paint it. No glue required. Even though I sometimes actually glue them to bases, but I can deal with doing the bases separately. But yeah. So, yeah, that was yet another rant about one-page rules. A game that I have supported with by now a decent amount of money, and I have yet to play it. But then again, I also have an expansion to Imperial Assault board game that I haven't played, so many expansions to Terraforming Mars that I ordered when they did a Kickstarter for Turmoil. And then before the Kickstarter arrived, I kind of came to the conclusion that I didn't really like playing Terraforming Mars. So now it's all just sitting. It's all just sitting there. Thanks, Corpse. I'm glad people get something out of it. Yeah, and Emily says that they sold their Terraforming Mars. I haven't sold it. I could sell it at a decent price. you know, not store prices, you go cheaper than that, of course. But on the other hand, it's just in the basement, in a box somewhere. So that, I mean, that's fine. Maybe I'll dig it out once in a while and play a game, but it's kind of this whole initial response I had when I tried it, kind of going, oh, this is super cool, and there's so many mechanics in play, and you can do this and you can do that. And then when I'm actually playing it, I know that there are good Terraforming Mars players that will win the majority of the games they play, so it's not purely random based. But to me, I mean, the way the game is structured, when you don't know what you're gonna get at all next round, makes it really, really difficult to make any kind of actual strategy. So long-term strategy, you can make some, oh, I hope I'm gonna get this, or roughly that, and then I can build on what I already have. But you can also get some of the, okay, I get a card where I need small animals, for instance, or whatever, and then you never ever get a card again, because there's so many cards in the game. You just never ever get a card that gives you small animals. So the card you played in one of the first rounds can basically be sort of hit or miss. What is Chance? Chance says you call them brands, I call them soothing soliloquies. Soliloquies, I'm getting kind of like, that is a fancy word for rant. You know, I should actually go back to my plans for being a supervillain, because, you know, the heroes always expect, you know, the superhero to have, you know, the long monologue at the end, and blah blah blah, the banter and all that. But if it's soothing, I'm just gonna soothe them into, you know, quiet submission. It's gonna be a super sort of reversing the roles of the aggressiveness and all that. Yeah, I think that would work. What do you say? Should I become a supervillain? Can I do a poll? No, I can't do a poll because I can't log into the chat. Somehow, yeah, Corb, you're probably gonna get a laugh out of this. After I'd gone live and figured, oh, I'd just try and give a shout out in chat, I realized that my OBS instance, for some reason, is locked out of chat. I mean, I'm streaming. I'm streaming live, but I cannot, from OBS, access the chat and write anything. So it's kind of like, yeah, that's awkward. Hey, we got some paint on the Mini. So we actually touched up the skin, doing some highlights. Why is my camera completely off? Is it, oh, that's because the last time I did something, I did the terrain, the Halloween diorama, which people at the office loved, by the way. And I didn't use the magnifying glass, which is why. So I'm just gonna make things super shaky here for just a while, and then hopefully. The thing is, I have this magnifying glass lamp thing. It's not gonna cut it. That probably is. Yeah, I mean, at least this, now it's more in frame at least. Oh, and Emily writes that no one would expect me to be a villain. Exactly, and that Emily is exactly why it's gonna work. Okay, so I need to do a little bit of touching up on the dress, just simple highlights, just to put a little bit of emphasis on that. And then I'm gonna do the squirrel, and then I'm gonna do the base, and the rest is just gonna have to be as it is. I don't really want to spend any more time on this. And I mean, it's fun story about this druid. One of the reasons I actually have been putting it off a bit is that more or less immediately after I painted a cleric for the same player, that player retired the cleric and brought in the druid. So I kind of had this, yeah, okay, I just painted the mini and it's retired. Okay, yeah, I'll paint the new mini eventually. And then I just had other painting projects that I wanted to focus on. Like, what? Let's get some robots. I've been talking about the robots. Let's put some of them on yeah, let's put some of them on display. So goodbye to Santiago, you have served us well. Let's get the sniper. Get a normal warrior. And let's get this. I mean, since I haven't played the game, I cannot remember what all the different models and types and stuff are called. It's like some kind of boss type creature. But another thing, oh, I'll be painting orcs. I didn't know until recently. My brain is ping-ponging again. I didn't know until recently that the concept Orctober is a thing. So one of the other Patreons I've been following, Mr. Modulog, whatever. He does cool minis. He basically designed an orc versus orc battle game. I think mostly skirmish. I haven't looked at the rules at all, but I just love the miniatures. But I'm definitely gonna get some of them for one-page rules, so I can have some more options than just the robots. I really want to do an orc warband, because I've always found that the humor in the 40k space orcs was amazing, and that humor, other people doing orcs in the sci-fi setting, they some of at least for these kind of games, they bring that humor with them. Sorry, got something in my throat. No, so I actually really want that to. I just want to throw a bunch of psycho orcs on the table, see them running around, screaming, trying, madly scrambling to get anywhere and just throw as much lead as possible at the enemy. I mean, that kind of thing to me is just priceless and so much fun. I don't know what that says about me, but hey. So yeah, so that's a thing I'm gonna do. And I mean, with the Patreon model, there's already a bunch of models out. You get your welcoming pack, you get stuff like that. So I should have plenty enough to set up a crew. So I'm gonna look at that, and then a few days ago, I posted this in the IP chat, the Heresy Empire thing. I had completely forgotten that I had backed that Kickstarter, and I think the only way to really describe that is that it is a Space Marine chapter with heavy inspiration from the Star Wars Stormtroopers. And when I saw them, I was just kind of like, that will actually make me build, paint, and field a Space Marine crew, because I'll be using Space Marines rules for them. It makes sense for what they have and weapons and so on. But the aesthetics of it is like the Stormtrooper helmets, those kind of things. And I have always, since I started playing games, I've always prepared. There goes my speech thingy. That thing I can't do. No, but I've always preferred playing, in Star Wars games, I've preferred playing the Empire over the Rebels. Sue me, whatever. There's just something. I know they're the bad guys, and I know there are objectively terrible people who do terrible things to others. But there's just something about the aesthetics of it and all that. I also have a fancy for the Roman Empire from way back, legions and all that. So actually having a Stormtrooper Space Marine chapter kind of thing in a game like one-page rules OPR, where people don't expect you to follow the official rules. They have personal army builders, so you can take whatever you want to do and make an army out of that. And yeah, the Empire is just misunderstood. Imagine how many jobs would not exist if the Empire wasn't there. All the infrastructure they're brutally claiming and using for their own purposes, that would just, I don't know, be used for good things or something. I mean, that is just ridiculous, right? Yeah. See, Emily gets me. No, but yeah, so Stormtroopers, Space Marines, and the OPR thing, they have an army builder where you can just take whatever you feel like and build your own army. They have rules for how you make the stats and stuff like that. So you could theoretically re-implement all your favorite armies or whatever into that. They also have a lot of the standard races. They don't call them Space Marines for, I think, trademark copyright issues. I can't remember what it is. Games Workshop claim they have, but one of those. So they call them Battle Bros instead, and then they of course also have the Battle Sisters, which is now taken off of. Well, I cannot say that they're taking anything off of Games Workshop because I absolutely do not know the internal processes, and if they did take something off, I mean, they would be sued from here and into the 50,000th year or the 50th millennium, whatever. But there are some obvious things. They also have, of course, the orcs, space clowns, technoskeletons, and stuff like that. But they do their own models based on this. You can, so you can play with all the classic races, faction from Warhammer. You can basically just take whatever army you have, a warband. They also do fantasy versions. I was about to say, of course, but that's not really a given. But they do both skirmish and full army game. So you can take all your Warhammer models and just move to one-page rules and just play because the armies are supported. Maybe with the exception of squads that I believe are called League of Votan now. I don't know. Oh, and Emily asks if I'm watching Andor. I am. I think they actually have shown the last episode. If not, I have probably one or two missing. And I actually liked that a lot. A lot more than Kenobi, because I did not like the Kenobi series. To be honest, what I like about the Andor series is that it digs into some of the background of some of the minor characters, well, the major characters from Rogue One, which is kind of the background to the setting, but they don't interfere with the original plot line or the original characters from the other, both the sequels and prequels and pre-prequels and what have you. Yeah, I mean, I absolutely, I just devoured Andor. I just gobbled it all up and watched it. Really, really enjoyable. I like the actors. I like sort of the whole play. But first and foremost, it is a heist. It is a train robbery kind of story that just happened to be set in the Star Wars universe. So you get a bit of extra information, world building in that universe, which is super wonderful. But you don't like it in Kenobi. What I didn't like about it was stuff like, why was Luke even mentioned in that? I mean, there was no point in Luke being part of that series in any way. And the other thing is, the entire story is a small person goes for a walk in the forest, gets kidnapped. Stuff happens, she goes back to her parents. Sorry about the spoilers, but it's kind of in the cards. But the way she's caught, she's what, 8? So 6 or 8, running around in a forest, and these badass bounty hunter kidnappers are out to get her, and she's literally running in circles around them. And it's just, anyone who's seen a kid getting caught by their parents at a playground when they have to go home, they know that kids cannot escape adults. It's just not that simple. Yeah, little Leia annoyed the crap out of Emily. Yeah, same here. And it's not so much that she's flippant and mouthy. I enjoyed that part of it. I can see how that builds up to her becoming who she is as an adult. It's just the whole that story did nothing for the world, nothing for the universe, nothing in terms of world building or other character development, other than saying, yeah, so this person we already know is a strong character, a strong person who's not afraid to get her hands dirty or say her opinion. She was like that as a child. Okay, fine, we've established that. Why did we need a series to say that? So whereas the people they have in Andor, also because there was some familiar faces that faces you can recognize, and then you can't really remember where you saw them, like what's she called, Bess, the leader of the band. I take it you've seen most of it, Emily. But anyway, that person, the same actor, she plays in Game of Thrones. I think the role is called the Waif. She's the one that Arya is interacting with and having rivalry with when she's with the Assassins Guild, as I like to call them. I know they're not that, but the faceless ones. The other person there is the same actor. So it's just super cool seeing her again, because I really liked her as in Game of Thrones, because she's just no nonsense. What the fuck are you doing here, little noble kid? Get the fuck out of my place. I've worked hard to get here. And just seeing that face again, just so I don't know. It just felt fun, felt good. Just like when I watched Gentleman Jack, which I highly recommend. I think it's on, here in Denmark, it's on HBO, HBO Max. In addition to being a super interesting and kind of fun, witty, sort of Victorian England story, it has a lot of depth, a lot of layers, but she also has this very British, low noble family where the sister of the main character is played by Yara Greyjoy from Game of Thrones. And in Game of Thrones, I mean, Yara is like one of my favorite characters because she's so fucking badass. But in the other story, she's just playing this super meek, somewhat confused, completely sort of oppressed by societal standards, kind of can't really, wants to do a lot of things but don't really know that she want to do it, and kind of super conflicted, and yet also super caught up in all of the ways people should, or the way she should be according to other people, and that trips her up, and she plays it wonderfully. And they're just so different roles, and I love seeing actors do that to show the diversity they have in roles. I think that's just good done. I'm not really gonna highlight the other stuff. So Squirrel, little bit Squirrel. I painted it brown, gave it a shade. Squirrel is a kind of orange, so I guess I'll highlight it in orange. That's logic for you, right there. Super logic. It's orange, so I'll paint it orange. Yeah, I mean, seeing, and I know, of course, actors play different roles. I know that, of course they do, and of course they are not the first role you see them in, and you know, more popular actors, you've seen them in a ton of roles. Kate Blanchett or Bruce Willis, for that matter, or all those people. You've seen them in so many different things, and you've seen them play different characters. Like Sean Bean, who just always plays a completely different character that absolutely never ever dies, and so on. So yeah, Oh, okay, corpse is lurking, so if I'm not saying that, I'm gonna go do some factory work in Factorio, playing a 3,000 hour game and you're at 100 hours in. Corpse, that is a super, super, I was about to say achievable or realistic or something like that, because what I really meant was to say it's a super awesome and amazing goal and completely insane and crazy. So yeah, go play Factorio. I have not played Factorio yet. Played Satisfactory and liked it. I probably like Factorio as well. It's one of the reasons I'm not playing it, because I probably like it so much that I will disappear from the face of the earth. So yeah, yeah. So Victoria, 3,000 hours. Are you insane? I mean, I've played so much Kerbal Space Program. Feels like, to me at least, and I know it's nothing compared to others, but I don't even have like 500 hours yet. But hey, I mean, if you play like 10 hours per day, that's only going to be like a year. Think about that. If you play 10 hours per day, it's going to take you a year to get through that 3,000 hour game. You know, with a few days off for irrelevant stuff like Christmas and so on. Corpse recommends Victoria because of mods. Yeah, always mods. Mods are wonderful. So long, space travel, spaceships, new planets, and enemies like Starship Troopers on every planet. Tons of them. Yes, but do they have Stormtrooper Space Marines? That's what you gotta ask yourself, Corpse. If they do not have Stormtrooper Space Marines, is it really worth playing? Okay, this orange is kind of turning yellow, but I don't care. It's not my squirrel. I mean, if it's not my squirrel that I'm painting, can I really be held responsible when the color goes all wonky? I mean, it's gotta be the squirrels. Oh, you're the Space Marine. So essentially what you're saying is the Space Marines are just factory workers? I mean, I get, like, you know, the power suits, a bit like Ripley in Aliens, you know, the second movie, where she has the lifter and stuff like that. So yeah, I guess that makes sense. Okay, this orange over dark brown really does become wonky, but it works, it's fine. You make robots build my... Corpse makes robots build his base now. I don't do anything by hand except design defenses and fight. But don't you have robots to fight? I mean, look at my cam. Them be fighting robots. You know, I'm gonna find out where your factory is, Corpse, and I'm gonna send all my robots there, so you can have them for fighting. Either so they can fight for you, or if you don't want that, they can fight you, and then you still have them for fighting. Oh, you like dealing with enemies solo. Cool. So basically what you're hoping for is actually a mod in both Darktide and Factorio that will link the two games together. So you'll be fighting in your own factory, but Darktide style. Okay, so in other random, completely random news that has nothing to do with any of this, just popped into my head. For some reason, I was compared to Jesus earlier today. So there you go. Maybe I should start a cult. also watered down the orange way too much. So let's try that again, shall we? Yeah, starting a cult. Oh, with all the robots, I could start a machine cult. But I think machine cult is a 140k term thing. Not sure. So yeah. I'll do that. I'll do that. Necron scum, you say? Hmm? So you want Necron's cops? Well, I will give you Necrons. There you go. More robots, more killer robots. And just to show how absolutely wonderful those robots are, you're gonna get the Purple Marine for comparison, size-wise. I mean, that little teeny tiny Marine is supposed to be superhuman, OP, kill everything in sight. I mean, look at it. It's just so tiny. I mean, no chance against the Necron scum. And by the way, Corpse, the Necron scum is kind of what I normally refer to as techno-skeletons. We like giving the different factions silly names like that. Like the Space Clowns for the Harlequins in 40k, or what the hell was the other one? Oh yeah, the Emo Elves. No, the Dark Elder. Emo Elves. So depressing and depressed at the same time. We do weird, goofy stuff like that. It's not. Oh, that was a camera. So we just, it's kind of fun, but hey. Oh yeah, the greenies. No, I mean, and then we're back to the fun part about the space orcs from various games. I know at first when I started playing games, I took some of it a little bit too sort of serious as written serious, and didn't kind of get the full level of humor because I was still young and not good with satire and you know, sarcasm and irony and stuff like that. But the tipping point for me, and when I think I truly sort of forever fell in love with the Space Orcs, was when Games Workshop did the Shock Trooper, whatever it's called, the box set at some point, where the backstory is that when orcs are young, they go into this rebellious phase, you know, the teenage rebellion phase kind of thing, and to sort of really break away from orc society and you know, rebel against that and all of that, they start doing super crazy, abnormal, hideous, disgusting things like marching in order, wearing the same uniforms, dressing up, you know, polishing their boots, you know, all the opposite of what any good orc stands for. And that's where you have these totally overdone, actually uniformed orcs with huge ass jetpacks on their backs. They're like shock troops, just bouncing in, and that entire concept and the backstory for it, that's where I really understood how absurd and funny so many of the things is. I mean, I know about a lot of the other stuff from the Warhammer universe. It's just taking the piss on everything. At least back in the day it was. In one of the Warhammer Fantasy roleplay official campaigns, they reference Faulty Towers, John Cleese. So there's just so much weird shit between the lines. But the orcs, I mean, that box set there, that's just when I kind of went, yep, okay, this is utter lunatics. Not just the orcs, but whoever thought up all of this, because this is just so well executed and done, and the lore written as, you know, the whole backstory as if it's serious, but it's just one big parody, and that's when it really hit me. And ever since then, I've just liked orcs. I actually had a fairly large 40k orc army back in the 90s. I ended up with a friend who had kids, so they had something to play with. So, and again, that's just, you know, like in the old school. I don't think they have the rules for that anymore, because then Space Marine players are probably gonna, you know, get all angsty about it. But the old rule where if you painted your orc vehicles red, they moved like an inch further, or whatever the exact rule was. Just the color of your painted model affects the rules in games, because the orcs believe so badly that, you know, red cars and red bikes go faster. So if you paint your bike red, war bike red, you will go faster in the game, because the orcs just believe it so much. And I like those levels in games. And you can say, is it balanced or not? Doesn't it mean that all orc players are just gonna paint their bikes red? Yeah, sure it is, but is that really a bad thing? I don't know. Is it a bad thing? Red orc more angry orc, red orc more strong. Yeah. No, I think, Emily, it was the vehicles, because, you know, like a red race car is gonna go faster than a green race car, or whatever, that kind of thinking. And the orcs, because whatever the orcs fully believe happens. It's, you know, that kind of race. So if they believe that their god will stomp on the enemy with, you know, their big foot, the god's big foot, then this huge green ectoplasmic foot will appear out of nowhere and just pounce down on the enemies. That's how it was in the fantasy game, including that the game came with a foot-shaped template. So it ties in super well with orc mentality, and how the orcs should be. So if you want to get into it as an orc player, I think it makes sense to then be rewarded for doing what the orcs actually do themselves. And I know it's sort of a gross generalization to say that all orcs across the entire galaxy, universe, and so on, that they all believe in this thing with red vehicles, and there are no orc races who believe that green cars will go faster. But hey, if you think that's how it should be, then why not just say that my orcs are green, super greenies? So they're like super green. So anything they have that is green, vehicle-wise, to following the same rules, just using green instead of red. I would be fine with that. Yeah, Corp said a unified orc faction is more scary than anything else. If enough orcs believe that something is going to be beaten for Greater Vark, then it's gonna be so. But orcs have a lot of infighting, so unifying the orcs is sort of impossible. Exactly. And I think orcs in games like D&D, role-playing games like D&D and many other places are a little underrated, specifically for that reason. Because the whole concept of this inherently infighting animosious, is that a word? Just kind of just at everyone's throat all the time. But when they do come together, whatever gets that kind of, you know, force or people together has to be something super powerful, and that indeed makes them so creepily scary. Like, I mean, forget about walking into Mordor with a ring and dumping it in the ocean. Well, ocean of lava, I guess. I mean, if the orcs decided that that was how the ring should have perished, they would have fucking marched 500,000 orcs all the way to the Shire, beating war drums and whatnot, knocking on Bilbo's door, saying, "We want the ring, demand the ring," or maybe just, you know, torch everything down. And then they would find the biggest orc they could, carrying the ring, holding it high, succumbing to, you know, the influence of Sauron. They would go through 200,000 orcs on their way back to Mordor, but they would be carrying that orc for the 5-10 minutes they last until they crack and another one takes over, and that's going to be put on their shoulders. I see a fan fiction coming up right there. So yeah, that escalated quickly. So yeah, but anyway, they would do that, and they would carry it all the way to Mount Doom, whereupon I think basically all the orcs would fall into the lava, just on principle and out of spite, because hey, apparently that's what we do. So yeah. So in conclusion, if you want a ring destroyed, don't send 2 little hobbies, send 500,000 orcs. Wise words to live by. Okay, this squirrel is... I mean, I'm seriously messing up the highlights here, so it's just more or less looking super creepy. So, yeah, our druid is gonna have a very interesting little squirrel friend. Kind of thinking devil rat more than squirrel somehow. But hey, I don't care. It's not my squirrel. I can't be held responsible for its colors. We established that a long time ago. And unless you have an orc army, I'm not going to change my stand. Oh, I can't wait to paint orcs now. I got, as a free promo through the OPR Kickstarter, I got a free promo mini or STL file from Mr. Modulorg. I can say Modulorg in Danish, absolutely fine. But I can't find a good sort of English way of saying it. But Mr. Modulorg, his game is called Modulorca, which rolls right off my tongue. But that's just, I think, you know, like in the new Mad Max Fury Road, they have this musician hanging off the front of a wagon. Imagine that, orc style, without being chained down. So this miniature, and I'm a little daunted by it, to be honest, because it has the speakers on the shoulders, all of that stuff. I printed it in pieces because I need to paint the pieces individually. But it is just so super awesome, and that's his ROKKA line, like rockers. Like we will rock you, rockers, but with an A at the end, true orc style, and it's just so amazingly fun and crazy and super over exaggerated. But the quality of his minis are just so amazingly good that I just had to print it. I don't know if I'll ever actually manage to paint it or paint it well. Probably won't. Yeah. Okay. Squirrel, you're done. Cannot be bothered with spending more time on a flipping squirrel. Now, the player requested I just need to double check that I'm not missing anything vital. The hair is kind of meh. Not gonna do anything about that. Do you want a green hair? She got green hair. So, no, but you wanted a nature light base. So I am going to dig out a model for inspiration. Going to dig out this little guy. Just to, look a little. How did I do this? Oh, nah. I could play with actual static grass, but I just do the tufts. Let's watch the ogre over here. Yeah, you can't see all of him, but it's fine. Oh, the wall of text from Corpse Bro. Excellent. Have you heard about the law that they are thinking about doing, by the way? There is one orc chieftain that is trying to unify the orcs to fight everything in the universe, and there might be a huge battle versus the Tyrannids. And the next one will have to use their ultimate weapon to end the orcs in the end, because they will be worse than the tyrants. I've been watching a lot of YouTube. Send me some of those links. I clearly have not been following up on that. But that sounds super fun. So, basing. We need basing materials. We need tufts. We need stuff. We need rocks. Yeah, I got all the new fun stuff that I'm playing around with. And I have. I have this splash gel water effects. It's sort of, you can shape it a bit and it keeps its shape when it dries. So we're gonna make some weird shit. We're gonna have fun. Oh yeah, and at some point I might have, forgotten that I had already bought static grass when I bought more static grass. So it's just getting the applicator that I used for this terrain and seeing it work. I may have gone a little overboard with the static grass. So Corpse uses 40k lore videos to sleep. That's super. I came across some really good ones a few years ago that kind of sort of, I think it was like 40-50 minutes, and they just did every faction in 40k. I used them when I was at the gym on the cross trainer. It was super great for that. So, I'm not actually gonna go green grass style on the base here because there's so much green on the model itself. I want to give it a little bit of a contrast, at least contrast feel to it. We have some options here. Let's see, how can we arrange this just so you can follow up. Water effects. We have these tufts. They're going to be too bright and too green. We have reddish tufts. We have some dead tufts. I mean, we are running around in the mountains at the moment. We also have like these, but that's going to be a lot of brown with a lot of brown. It's going to go with these ones here. I mean, it's still a little bit green, but it has sort of the red base underneath it, and it's more sort of really light burned off grass along with the rocks. Hopefully it'll look like grass that is having a hard time really growing. And we're gonna get all of these things, and we're probably gonna need to paint the base first. Let's just go brown on that. Light brown, dark brown. If I do, I'm gonna actually need to go dark brown. Now, see, a professional streamer would have had all of this ready before they started streaming. I don't care. This is gonna be fun. Oh, thanks, Corpse. So, yeah. Okay, now if I paint the actual base brown and have like the rocks and stuff, I'm thinking about what to paint the rim of the base, if that should also be brown, or if I actually want to go, I think I want to go something brighter because I like having a contrast, a sort of sharp contrast between the theme of the base and the rim of the base, to just make it kind of, for me, it makes the model stand out a little bit. Like when you have subtitles, they have like small edge highlight. I love you guys. You always pick purple, and I love purple. It's one of my favorite colors. I mean, even back at university, when I realized that I can actually, I could write without looking at my keyboard, I found a metallic purple spray and sprayed the entire keyboard. After spending an ungodly amount of time actually cleaning it with rubbing alcohol, So for a couple of years, I used a metallic purple keyboard where you could not see what the different keys were. So absolutely, I mean, Ori also chooses purple whenever she picks that. I probably have a history of redeems. Yeah, green and purple is a super combo. If done right, it can be sick in both the it's super cool kind of way, but also sickly looking. So yeah. Oh yeah, another thing that I probably completely forgotten to mention is that this year, in November, because that's where we are, I'm actually doing the NaNoWriMo project. Now, Corpse, you said lilac or purple, so I'm guessing you want the one on the left, which is sort of brighter than the other one, so it stands out from the dark brown. Cool. No, but I'm doing NaNoWriMo, which is essentially write a book in a calendar month. That'd be in November. And a book here in this setting is defined as 50,000 words. Now, I've done that a bunch of times over the years, but I haven't for, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years ago, I think was the last time that I did it. Mostly just because I actually found out that doing the 50,000 words wasn't really that difficult in the end. It was more about, then it became more about, making proper plots and characters and all the hard stuff. And I just got out of it. I just did it because I like to get stories out of my head. So I just used it for that. And then when it was just simple, I did it. But I'm doing it again to do some world building for a role-playing game world. No specific system, just whatever. And I've mentioned that a lot. I have plans to start it, during my 6 months vacation this year, but just never got around to doing it because once I went on vacation, all those projects and then I'll have time to do all of that. That got completely replaced by me actually needing a vacation. So now that I'm working again and don't have a lot of time, naturally I jump back onto all of these projects. But anyway, I'm doing world building and hope to actually get 50,000 words because that is gonna give a lot of information about this world. And I'm playing around with the format. Because I'm better at writing fiction and stories than an actual world description where I go, okay, so this town has this many inhabitants and is ruled by this kind of council, blah blah blah. That becomes technical information, even though still fictional. There's a different style than just writing stories. So I thought about having a character that describes all the different towns through their traveling. So my main character would be traveling to all these different places and experience things. But I also don't want to actually turn it into a plot in each city or each place that this person is at, because that kind of makes it like a super long exploration story, which is not what I'm going for. I actually want to give the details about the different places. So I'm probably gonna settle for having an introduction to each, chapter with like a page or two of this was a memorable moment or whatever from this place. By the way, Corpse, super good call on the color. This is gonna go so well with the brownish base. You can probably already see. So good call on that. I appreciate it. So basically, this is gonna be like a small introduction story. This is how I arrived there after shipwrecking or whatever. And yes, Corp says that it makes it pop, and that is really what I'm going for with the rim of the base, because it makes a very clean cut between whatever the miniature is standing on and the miniature itself, and I really come to enjoy that a lot. This is going to be a game piece. I'm going to be using it for games. It will not look realistic. I cannot make a base that's going to fit all the different maps we're going to be playing at, or different terrain, or just the battle mat or piece of paper, whatever it is. Then why not make something that either shines up if it's a dark base mini like this, or something that's something super bright to make it pop, or go super dark without going black. That's my preference. So if it's a light model, do something really sort of dark blue, really dark brown, or something like that, to just bring the miniature down and just give this big brown solid ring around a bright colored miniature to put emphasis on it. Also, if you're looking at a miniature against the white backdrop, having that kind of outline in dark, for my eyes at least, it helps a lot. So yeah, just need to let that sit for a short while. Give it another coat of... Okay, we're not going to give the basic coat of purple. I'm going to give the basic coat of brown again, just to cover up everything. And then we're just going to pour on a bunch of glue and just pop rocks and rubble and tufts all over the place. We also have a bear that needs some doing. And what I'm actually going to do with this, since the player specifically requested a nature-like mini, is I'm going to do like what I did with the ogre, and not really paint the pieces of cork and small pebbles I use, so they actually retain their natural look. I find that with these sort of stylish paint jobs that I usually do on models, I mean, it's over exaggerated, and it's the highlights are painted in, and I fuck up all the details and stuff like that, so it looks like a caricature. It's the part of the artistic style, I guess. But then having some actual real life materials with real physical world colors or whatever actually also adds some kind of contrast in the texture and the coloring and the theme that I think often works. So that's what we're gonna do. I mean, the ogre, at first when I did it, I kind of, it felt off to me to do it in that way, but the more I actually look at him, have him on my desk when I'm at home working sometimes, it's kind of just like, yeah, that actually works. So okay, so that should do it. Just needs to dry a little bit before I start messing around with the glue. And oh shit, we're actually coming up on the 2-hour mark, but that's fine because we should be able to just glue all of this down, add some tufts. I'm gonna add some large pieces first, and then I'm gonna plop down glue in appropriate places and just dump the small rubble like this all over to give added effect. And the base is gonna be entirely covered by all of this. So without further ado, let's do super glue. The moment you've all been waiting for. Skjalm brings out the glue. Will he or will he not glue his fingers together? Yeah, I got a new super glue, so I'm just going to use that. The old one felt like it wasn't really working anymore. I don't know if super glue can go old, but that one just felt like it had. So it's not really expensive, and I had it for a long time. Yeah, you're gonna glue your fingers. Yes, maybe, probably, maybe not. And I mean, I highly suggest, when doing bases like this, I would highly suggest in advance picking out a bunch of pieces so you don't have to sit and doing it on the fly like I'm doing here. Just go through your small box of pieces of cork, pick something out. You shoot your round up. I mean, there's nothing new about me and my fingers being glued. I mean, that's pretty much where this channel started, I guess. There's a surprising amount of people who cheered for me gluing my fingers together. I'm not sure if that's really, a good quality in my friends that they want that to happen. Go, just I think one more. I think the base can take one more rock. This, especially if I put it that way down. That way down. That's not good English. Sorry. I put it like this. And one or two tufts I think would be good. And I actually find that it really does help. Just, I mean, there is glue on these tufts here that I'm placing, but I find that it works really, really well if you just dip it in the super glue, because that way it's just, it's gonna stick. It's not gonna fall off. Also, gonna try to intentionally unbalance the base. See a lot of people going, oh, you have a tuft on the right side of the base, you're gonna need a tuft on the left side as well. We're gonna go, no, I don't. That's kind of the human mind not wanting to do random things, really. So yeah, we can do stuff like another one. We need all bushes over there on that side. We probably do. I mean, like this. We have. Let's try to have all the bushes on one side as if you're standing with. Yeah, I mean, balanced is pleasing, but if we're talking nature and we're talking you're walking, take any sort of random trip, you're walking out in the wilderness, not on a path, just stop and look down and see how sort of balanced and orderly the ground around you is. I'm guessing not a lot. Oh, I need some. I'm gonna skip the water part, mostly because I have no idea where I would put it. So I am though gonna do this. Quite simply because I do not feel like messing around with getting all the glue on the base in between the feet. I'm just gonna do it like that, and I'm gonna do rubble on the other side. It's gonna be completely off balanced. That's fine. Yeah, throw that shit everywhere. You know, I could just add more tufts and just saying this is all over the place. Maybe I'll add. We'll see. We'll add some more. So, as much as I like using PVA glue for a lot of these things, I actually find that using super glue makes the process so much simpler, because then I don't have to throw in or use a brush to get the glue to the parts of the base, and just literally just stick this piece, it's just, you know, broken off cork, stick that in the super glue, press it on the base, 2 seconds later, all done. But applying super glue to a base is a little scary, because the only thing I really have to clean it up if it goes wrong, goes to the wrong places, that would be my paintbrushes, and I don't really want to use them with super glue, because then they will die. I mean, not even rubbing alcohol or stuff like that would be able to, you know, save a brush that's been dunked in super glue. I mean, you can use toothpicks to spread it around a little bit, or you can use like this is my mixing brush, so I mean, just using the back of this to just poke things a little bit, that also works. Be careful where you leave the brush afterwards. Yeah, like that, and we just, yeah, I can see what I'm doing roughly. Just sprinkle this on. I'm just gonna give it a really nice good coating here, because whatever is not hitting the glue is just gonna fall off again. Just knock it down a little bit, and yeah. And I still, no, even to this day, I still get amazed at how much the base actually means. After you've done a miniature, it is, and you just literally saw it. It took like 5 freaking minutes to do that base, and it just works. It works wonders. So, but now that okay, so a little bit more purple, because more purple is more better. And also, it was corpse. We like corpse, so corpse wanted purple. We bloody well gonna give him purple. Yeah, and you know, Emily, one of my sort of guilty, I have a little bit guilt, I don't know, trip or guilty conscience about a while back. I helped kickstart a couple of years ago. I kickstarted a book called The Terrain Essentials. I have it on my shelf here, by Mel Bose. Mel Bose is known as the Terrain Tutor on YouTube, and it is literally a huge ass book, just filled with ideas and recipes or procedures for doing super cool terrain. Mel is this wonderful British guy who's very hands-on, also very technical, knows a lot of about all this stuff for all of this, but mostly just hands-on, and it's very sort of experimental. Like, should you use this or that for sealing your terrain? Hey, let's make a test. Let's just build some terrain and then seal it with both things, leave it to dry, and come back the next day and see how it goes. What worked best? But one of the stretch goals for the Kickstarter campaign was actually a basing guide. So I only have that as a PDF, because the book I have in hardcover, but the basing guide came in PDF. But to be honest, I have not looked at it, and every time I think about it is when I'm sitting here, and the second I leave this chair to relax and go to something else, yeah, well, I'm just gonna forget all about the basing guide and that book, and there's so many things I want to do from it. I'm sure. I don't know what it is because I haven't really read it or looked at it. It's lots of pictures. So there you go. That is one druid painted and done. And from afar, the squirrel, the orange on top of the dark brown actually just turned into more or less the exact shade of one of my other browns. So there is that. Right, I'm just gonna pop her over on the spinning display, and then I'm gonna see something about the bear. There you go. Okay, it is not at all visible in the small window here, but seriously, I promise you, Corpse, that purple base rim, I think I'm gonna start using that for a lot more minis. I'm just gonna bring up the large display. Yeah, there you go. That now you can actually see how much it pops. Out of focus, whatever. And it pops so well, and it works with the brown even and the green. So you're absolutely the green purple thing. Yeah, forget about the miniature. I'm just gonna do the bases from now on. So yeah. Right. So let's go see a guy about a bear or something. Okay. So I'm just gonna clean up my workspace a little bit here. Not gonna get around to the druid, but we may actually, depending on how well the next layer of contrast paint takes, we may be able to finish the base on the beard as well. Yeah, green and purple, and especially this particular purple that just pops so well. So that is awesome. And I kind of think the squirrel it's a little too brown and not orange red enough. But you know, I can't be bothered. It's shaded and highlighted. So let's get back to the bear. Do you think the Disney Corporation is gonna come after me if I start saying bear necessities? I'm just wondering. You know what? Since I have no idea what's gonna happen when I apply the brown contrast paint over this dark gray-ish one, but the best way I find to find out what happens is to do it. Oh yeah, that is gonna work nicely. So now I all of a sudden have the problem of trying to figure out where to actually put all the brown stuff. So I think I'm just gonna go sort of brown on the back, grayish on the bottom. I have no idea how bears look. You know, kind of like leaving a little bit sort of like the insides of the fur, if that makes sense, like the underbelly and under the chin. And I kind of like that the gray actually darkens down the brown here, like a lot, but still seeps through. Also maybe reactivating the underlying coat. It's probably not the best thing to happen, but hey, as I said, like, it's not my squirrel, it's not my bear. You know, trying to do kind of a shabby paint job in you know, the places where I go from the brown to the gray to not make it look like it's just a straight line, but just have, you know, small splotches. So we'll see. Oh, so it has some claws. This does not at all look like an actual bear, no, color-wise. But hey, fantasy games, fantasy worlds, dig it. I mean, it turned really dark, not like grim dark, but just when I started, painting all of this. But it does have, keeps the texture, and the contrast paint does its job. And then on the legs, mostly visible on the legs, and a little bit from the side, will have some gray splotches. That will have to do. I really don't want to spend any more time than necessary doing that. I am, however, just really quickly gonna do the mouth. It's just gonna do, paint it white to get, teeth, and I'll paint it off white actually, because white teeth with shading looks weird, especially in animals or there's the claws as well. That's fine. So we're gonna do an off-white. I have like a bone white here. That's good for that purpose. So and yeah, that's probably gonna be the last I do, because the contrast paint, I shouldn't be painting it, because at some point I'm gonna touch the contrast paint. It's gonna come off in splotches, which is gonna look bad. It's gonna have fingerprints and all that, but I just gonna see if we can't just do a super quick touch up of the mouth. That would be a oh, sorry, I'm not hitting the camera. I'm actually hitting one of the cables going from the camera, which is a little annoying because it's hard to see it by my elbow hitting it. So okay, didn't go too bad with the mouth here. So basically just gonna paint in the off-white, hit the teeth, and then repaint the tongue with actually a purple is not a bad choice for that. And then I'm gonna shade all of it with black. Yeah, that's gonna be good. Yeah, that's gonna be fine. So it feels super nice painting again, and now having you wonderful people here, that makes my day way better. Already was a good day, but this makes it better. I think yeah, shit, that's one of the problems when I'm actually cleaning up the models after I've 3D printed them. There's a bit of a support left in the upper mouth that I hadn't seen before, but now that I'm painting it, it suddenly becomes very clear that if I paint that one white, yeah, things are not gonna go well. And since I didn't remove it before I cured it, it's super hard to break off. But there it is. It has chipped its tooth, but It's better than, you know, being able to see this piece of support just hanging off to the side. So yeah, thank you for the hearts in chat. See, there we go. That's the cable again. So yeah, this is gonna be one nasty looking bear. Now again, for the sake of shadows, I'm not gonna paint like the roof of the mouth and the back of it. There's no point, because again, it's, you know, one thing is tabletop ready, but also making that part even darker than the tongue kind of puts emphasis on it that it's inside the mouth and light isn't actually gonna reach it that much. Oh, right. We also need to do the claws while we're at it. Wait, do bears normally have 5 claws? Or do they only have 4? Legitimate question there for you knowledgeable people who actually live in countries that have bears. Or do you, of course, do you have bears up where you are? Okay, cool. Bears have 5 claws. Then it's an anatomically correct bear. So essentially what we're saying is that bears have 5 claws. I'm pretty sure rats also have 5 claws, because I get freaked out by rat claws. They look so human. I mean, rat claws look so superhuman. Not superhuman, not very, very human in the way their claws, actually hands are. And I grew up playing Warhammer Fantasy with a lot of Skavens around. So whenever I actually see an animal, like especially the rat with the very sort of human traits like fingers instead of claws, it actually freaks me out. Not like arachnophobia, I can't look at it, it's just kind of like, yeah, scary. I think with the rats, the first time I really noticed it was in a pet store, when they had a rat in one of the cages, and it was just looking at it, and it looked like a cute rat. Nothing wrong with the rest of it. But then I just noticed these hands holding on to whatever the small branch it was sitting on, and my mind just could not deal with that. I know it sounds super weird and stupid and silly, but it's just kind of like that to me looked unnatural, even though I know, I mean, it's a natural animal. It's how they look. It's just that was just wrong. That just made Skavens way too more realistic, and I don't want to go there. It's not a good place. It's not my happy place. Wolverines also have 5. Oh yeah, the paw print. Yeah, that. I mean, Wolverines, are they actually big enough to be mistaken for a bear? It is a hassle to search Wolverine claws. I'm gonna need an explanation for why it's a hassle to search Wolverine claws. Either it's a play on them having paws and not claws, or something that I'm not getting. That also right. So doing Google for Wolverine's claws. Yeah, I get that. That's gonna. Yeah, X-Men all the way. Yeah. Aha, smart. I use my smart brain. I'm actually gonna go. I'm gonna go red with the tongue. But see, corpse. That's your mistake right there. You're looking for facts from the real world. They don't exist anymore. We live in a post-factual society. Just make shit up. And do you know what I just realized after painting the model and after the contrast color has dried up? On the shoulders of this particular bear are what looks like drain holes from the printing process. I had seen one of them right at the neck, the back of the neck, and covered it with some green stuff. And now that I've painted all of it, I find out that I've actually missed the other two. And they have become very, very visible. Yeah, I mean, cops just do it. I mean, it's not like you're teaching children or something like that. I mean, that's who's gonna hurt? So basically, you can probably see it on its right shoulder. There's like a dark dot that's there. That's actually an indent, very round hole into the shoulder. And there's a similar one on the left, but I'm not gonna try and cover that up. I'm just gonna have to live with it. The mouth, you can see the red tongue. I'm gonna shade all of that down with some. Not gonna go all the way black. Not gonna go full ass null oil on it, but we are gonna go dark tone from Army Painter to get it really dark, and not just the sort of brownish thing, but actual shading it down. It's gonna be sort of hoping for a little bit of a glaze effect on the teeth to darken them just a little bit. But again, I mean, it's a fantasy game. I don't mind exaggerating like the teeth of a bear, having them ultra white, so you can see it. Well, not ultra wide, I mean that would be too much, but just making them pop a little bit. That's okay. So yeah, I mean, it's still visibly red, the tongue, but now it's just had this dark, really dark brown, almost black shading run down it in tint. I should also just keep the claws a quick shade as well. And this is mostly to actually get in between the claws that I'm doing this. Just scraping it off a little bit. But it's not going to be that visible really. Just as a simple way of painting in between the claws, you know, using a wash that just automatically seeps in there. Because the entire model was primed with cenital highlight. So I still have a lot of whites left. It's just simpler with the washers to actually hit the right space. You're gonna stop. Cops is gonna stop with factory work. Starting dealing with hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, nitric acid, and soon lithium. A lot of fluids and gases. It's hurting my brain. Yeah, I mean, if you're sitting there with nitric acid and stuff like that, yeah, it is gonna hurt your brain. It's not healthy, corpse. Don't do it. Oh, speaking of games, I have a terrible, terrible confession to make. I recently started playing Genshin Impact. It wasn't that I really wanted to play it. I've never been much a big fan of mangas in general. But then some really good friends that I've known since forever, they're actually playing it. One of them, she has I think it's called post-concussion syndrome. But this is actually a game that, because of the really pleasant and aesthetics and graphics, it's one of the few things you can actually play. So to be able to at some point maybe just have fun again, hang out somewhere virtual, I'm actually doing that. But I mean, nothing fancy. I mean, I just got a character started running through the standard shit you do in these kind of games. But I have to say, I mean, the best way of describing how pleasantly it is actually that when I talked to one of the other friends about it, and we talked about the music, I just kind of went, yeah, the music is actually so well made for the atmosphere that I don't even notice the music. Even though it's loud enough that I can hear it, it just fits so well. So that's, I think that's like my way of giving a huge compliment to the game. So, small bear, big claws. Should I do the base? No, it needs to dry and set properly before I actually start doing the base. So, anyway, I will just pop this one over here. Still mixing the base, but it just needs to dry before I can do it, and I don't want to sit here for another 15 minutes while it dries and then spend 5 minutes doing a base. So I will, however, post a video of them both just spinning like that, and yeah. So I will leave. I will not do a raid because I'm too tired to watch anything else other than just cleaning up and going to bed. So thank you for joining. Thank you for visiting. Let's just get them up there nice and large. It's been fun. It's been super wonderful. Thank you for the lurks. Thank you for the chats. And I hope you have an absolutely wonderful day. So good night. Sleep well.